Yes, I am crazy, but that does not mean that I am wrong. May 22nd, 2014 on the People's Radio!
The People's Radio is an experimental, technocratic media format for the working class. The thoughts and opinions expressed on the People's Radio are not necessarily the thoughts and opinions of Organizing for Humanity, of the People's Radio, or of anyone else. Viewer discretion is advised.
OrganizingForHumanity.com. The new OrganizingForHumanity.com is now up. Now, there's not much information on it just yet, but there will be. Feel free to go check it out. If you find any typos, be sure to let me know, and we will get that taken care of. Folks, I want to start off today talking about what is wrong. But I don't want to just bash a certain group or a certain political party and just be like, those people are idiots. I wish to discuss what is wrong. And then, hopefully, towards the end of the program, we can start to talk about what we're going to do to fix it. I think that's the number one complaint that People's Radio receives, is that I drone on and on about this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, but I don't really offer solutions. Well, Organizing for Humanity was founded to provide those solutions, and a lot of those solutions have not yet been announced, but they are in the works. But first, let's start talking about what is wrong. What is wrong in America today? Here we go. Top prosecutor is under fire for controversial comments that he made on Facebook. Assistant State Attorney Kenneth Lewis is one of Ninth Circuit State Attorney Jeff Ashton's top prosecutors. But Lewis is now facing backlash over saying, this is what he said on his Facebook. Are you ready? Happy Mother's Day to all the crack hoes out there. It's never too late to tie your tubes, clean up your life, and make a difference to someone out there that deserves a better mother. Of course, when State Attorney's office was contacted, the response was, I've been made aware of certain statements attributed to Assistant State Attorney Kenneth Lewis on social media. I do not agree with the political sentiments expressed by him, and I find some of the words he chose to be offensive and dehumanizing. Political speech is protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, and I do not police the private thoughts, views, or expressions of those in my employ. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. According to the law, you don't have to fire him. But this is a man in a position of authority, in a position of power, and he's dehumanizing people on his own personal Facebook. I don't think that's right. Same state, by the way, is our next news item. Same state. This is where I currently reside, the state of Florida. It is not my home state, nor would I ever be proud to call it that. Miami, Florida. A tortuous punishment session turned fatal for a mentally ill prisoner when prison guards forced him to stand in a tiny shower stall while being blasted by scalding hot water until his skin shriveled away from his body and he died. Darren Rainey was 50 years old. He died while incarcerated at the Dade Correctional Institute. He was serving a 2-year sentence for a victimless crime, possession of cocaine. At the time of his death, he only had 1 month left to go on his 2-year sentence. Rainey, who did suffer from mental illness, was accused of defecating in his cell without cleaning it up. The Florida Department of Corrections Austin comes up with cruel punishments for prisoners. They range from starvation diets to forcing prisoners to fight so that the guards could place bets on those fights. Rainey's punishment was to stand confined in a narrow chamber and being blasted with hot water and steam. He was left to suffer there for over 1 hour. I can't take it no more. I'm sorry. I won't do it again, Rainey screamed over and over. This is according to a fellow inmate that witnessed this. We would have never heard about this story if an inmate had not wrote a letter of complaint letting us know what happened. There was no autopsy performed on Rainey. The state has been trying to cover it up. And that's, I have a list of stories like this, and they keep coming across my desk, and they never stop. It's daily in America. I could fill up my entire show with anything that I want. I could fill up my entire show with nothing but stories like that. Because our society has become cruel. Our society has become emotionless and narcissistic. We're so busy fighting and scraping to get by and trying to get any little bit that we can get for our families and ourselves that we've lost our compassion and decency to our fellow citizenry. I could make a show about such stories. I could be outraged about those stories endlessly, perpetually. But I chose the People's Radio to be about science and technology and how we're going to use science and technology to make the world better. Do you know how we will make things better? Education. Education is the key stone of a society. You see, when you have an educated populace, they can pretty much do anything. When you have a uneducated populace, they can't do anything. They're powerless. This is the difference between a society like Japan that is full of educated people, capable people that can build, develop, design, test, and African villages where they don't have education and they are starving to death. Education is the key. So still in Florida, for our next story, Florida lawmaker who garnered controversy this week after Think Progress reported his claim that new educational standards are a secret plot to turn children gay is standing by his comments. Now, hold on. Let me slow this down. I have a politician in my state that believes our education system in America is a secret plot to turn our children gay. And he says this publicly. During an anti-Common Core conference in March, State Representative Charles Van Zant argued that the group implementing Florida's new education program are secretly trying to attract every one of your children to become as homosexual as they possibly can. He told the crowd, "I'm sorry to report that, but you need to know." Well, I'm sorry to report that this guy's a moron, but you need to know. Moving on. Folks, right now, our brothers and sisters, our fellow citizen workers that work at McDonald's are protesting outside the McDonald's headquarters. Well, they were until they were all arrested. This is from USA Today. In a prelude to protest planned for the McDonald's annual shareholders meeting Thursday morning, police arrested 139 protesters on Wednesday afternoon outside McDonald's headquarters. 139 protesters. They were just arrested. Workers chanted, "Hey McDonald's, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side. And no Big Macs, no fries, make our wage supersize." And I agree with them. These workers and activists are demanding $15 an hour. We can do that. In Denmark, we posted this on the People's Radio Facebook page the other day. In Denmark, they make $21 an hour minimum wage. We can do 15. We have more money than Denmark. We could do it if we wanted to. We could raise our entire society's standard of living. Because society is built from the lowest class up. Your lowest class, your poor workers. I can't believe I'm saying that. I mean, this is how bad it's gotten. I can't believe that I'm saying poor and workers to to describe the same group of people. It's not supposed to be that way. If you are a worker and you work full time, you're not supposed to be poor. You're supposed to earn a wage so that you can take care of yourself and your family. Do you agree with that, listener? Tell me that you do. Please tell me that you do. If you work full time, no matter what that job is, even if it's just making fries at McDonald's, so that other people can eat, you deserve a living wage. You absolutely deserve a living wage. Otherwise, what incentive is there? Why would someone work? If I'm going to spend 40 hours a week out of my life working for someone else, if I'm going to take that time off of my life and dedicate it to a company, a private for-profit company, and if I don't make enough money to afford a car and afford a house and afford gas in that car and afford food on the plate and afford to go to the doctor and go to the dentist, if I cannot afford to live, then what incentive do I have to work for them? Why would I work for them? Why? You go to work to make money, that's what they tell us. Well, give them money. Stop giving them pennies. It's just ludicrous to me that in the year 2014 we have yet to figure that out. We have yet to realize that our workers are the backbone of this country. Which gets me to what I promised I would talk about at the start of the show. What you need to do to make things better. If you're listening to me, you are doing exactly what you're supposed to do. And no, that's not me saying that you need to listen to the People's Radio. That is me saying that if you are a nurse, continue to be a nurse. If you are a doctor, continue to be a doctor. If you are a lawyer, continue to be a lawyer. If you are a scientist, continue being a scientist. You are doing exactly what you should be doing simply by being alive. Simply by participating in this thing that we call human society. Simply by waking up and doing something, as opposed to doing nothing. You are doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing. Progression. The forward advancement of mankind cannot be stopped. I talk about that a lot. Despite those amongst us that fear the future will still arrive. There's nothing that can be done to stop it. Every single day, we advance forward. We learn something new. We learn to do something better. We discover something interesting and unique. We think about something in ways that we've never thought of it before. And just by being you, you are contributing to that. You are helping the overall machine that is human society. So now you know. You are doing what you need to do. If you're a political activist, keep being a political activist. If you are a teacher, keep teaching. If you are a bus driver, keep driving that bus. Demand a better wage. Demand your fair share. Always demand more. Always demand better in society. Always demand more for your fellow man, not just yourself. That is the important part. You must remember that the reason why we form unions, the reason why we ask for raises to be raised is not just to help ourselves, it is to help our fellow man because it is the decent and right thing to do. Keep doing what you're doing. And together, all of us, all 8 billion of us, will continue advancing forward. Day after day after day.
Mustache Man, your worst nightmare has arrived.
Man.
Cindy, what do you think?
It's so real.
The Oculus Rift is a game changer, and not just for video games. The ability for us to be inside an immersive reality is going to change everything. Right now, the Oculus Rift is being enhanced with motion gesture recognition software. The ability for the Rift to detect your hands and how your hands move is being added to the Oculus Rift. So not only will you be inside a virtual world, you won't be limited by keyboards or mouse or game controller. You will be able to draw things in the air with your hand in real time. Imagine that. Imagine a room where scientists and engineers come together to work, design, and create new things in a virtual workspace. They can come together instantly out of the comfort of their own home. No more air travel, no more conferences. We can have online conferences. This is called Project Holodesk. It's being developed by Organizing for Humanity, and it's going to be the future. Look forward to that over the next couple of years as the Oculus Rift actually comes to fruition and open source software hits it, such as the Android. Expect there to be rooms that scientists and engineers can occupy, and they can develop things together in real time. Now just imagine the ramifications of being able to just tell another human being exactly what you mean, that transcends language, by just drawing in the air your design. And then you can walk around that design, and you can manipulate it with your hands. And then you can move it, you can adjust it, you can make it larger and smaller, you can tweak it, you can bend it, you can mold it, you can shape it. Human productivity is about to go through the roof, ladies and gentlemen. But, moving on, we have to get through the bad news before we can get to the good news. State of Florida, still. Marco Rubio, my senator that I'm ashamed to call my senator, just keeps digging. He is a climate change denier. The science is in. There is no more debate. Climate change is real. Climate change is destroying our society and is a huge threat to us. The Department of Defense, the United States Department of Defense, cites climate change as the #1 threat to military forces. Not China, not Iran, not Iraq, not Saudi Arabia, not India, not North Korea. Climate change. Not Al-Qaeda, not the Taliban. Climate change is the #1 threat to U.S. forces in the foreseeable future. And they are spending tons and tons of your tax dollars trying to prepare and mitigate the damage of climate change. Climate change is real. Now, Marco Rubio has just decided to ignore that because it does not fit his narrative. It does not fit what he's been saying for the past few years, so he's just decided to ignore that. Recently, he said that there was science to suggest that climate change was not real, and then when he was asked, do you have any source of that information? Can you cite us any scientist that says that? He just went into a blind rage, an incoherent rage. Quote, this is from Rachel Maddow blog. Marco Rubio said his liberal critics show their hypocrisy when they cite science and label him a climate change denier when they decline to embrace the science of human life beginning at conception. In an interview with Sean Hannity on Wednesday afternoon, how come it's always on Fox News? The craziest things are said. Oh, man. The Florida senator brushed off a backlash labeling him as a climate change denier by aggressively accusing left-leaning critics as hypocrites, giving their abortion rights position. He said emphatically that the science is settled. Life begins at conception, but liberals will never admit it. And that's an incoherent argument in my book. What the hell? Okay, let's let's just skip over the whole life begins at conception thing. Let's skip that over because it's irrelevant. Even if it were true that life began at conception, let's just go ahead and say that's true, even though it's not true. I mean, life exists before conception and it exists after conception. There is no magical that happens when the sperm meets the egg. They are both living cells, and then they just combine their DNA in order to start dividing as a single cell that then divides into 2, and then 4, and then 8, and 16, so on and so forth. But let's just say it's true that science. We have some science out there that says life begins at conception, and liberals are choosing to ignore it. That does not give you the justification to ignore another set of science, another area of science, another field of research. That does not give you the... I mean, what he's saying is the argument of a child. But they get to ignore science, so I want to ignore science too. Ignoring science is the enemy. Ignoring empirical science is the enemy to mankind, period. Do you want to go back to the days of witch doctors and snake oil salesmen? Do you want to go back to the days before we had automobiles, before we had airplanes? Do you want to just go ahead and turn off the power now and get rid of the internet and get rid of computers and just go backwards? That's what you do when you deny science. When you deny empirical science, you remove the ability to discern what is true. You remove the ability to advance technology. You remove the progression of mankind. Science is a tool. It is a measuring stick. It ferrets out superstitions and wrong assumptions. It destroys bad logic. It kills misconceptions of the cosmos. But we have to use it. We have to use that tool. We have to use that yardstick of truth that is science. Denying it will get you nowhere. Marco Rubio, I hope you were voted out. I hope all the science deniers are voted out. Moving on, there's another ACA horror story. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce was trying to highlight that Patty Breeze was a business owner that doesn't like Obamacare, and it was like hurting her business. A journalist followed up on that and actually called her and talked to her, and she said, quote, "I don't think we need to go back to the way it was," and quote, "There are some good parts to that federal act. That people aren't denied coverage for pre-existing conditions, and children can stay on their parents' health insurance for longer till age 26, and that we've got free preventative services to promote wellness. There are good pieces to that." So, yet another Obamacare horror story has been deflated. It turned out to just not be true. Obamacare is actually helping. And to prove that, one only needs to look at the insured rates of adults in America. Or you could just look at the insured rates of all American citizens. Since January 1st, since the introduction of the Obamacare mandate, it has been plummeting. It has been falling like a rock. It's kind of been falling like a rock, like Sears stock. I want to deviate for a minute. Sears, years ago, got a CEO that was a libertarian. And he thought that he was going to bring his libertarian free market principles into the company. And yet again, Sears has had another dismal quarter. Despite slashing all of their prices and running constant sales and promotions, they still keep sliding and backsliding and falling. Well, I guess the free market is speaking. One of the reasons why Sears is collapsing is because he actually implemented his libertarian free market principles inside the company. He had executives form their own teams and then compete against each other. So instead of the corporation Sears itself being a coherent unit working together for one common goal, what we call collectivism, It became an individual brouhaha of infighting. Executives were not sharing information with other executive teams. Executive teams were hiding information from other executive teams, and even there was deception. That's not how you run a company. The belief this guy had was that the libertarian free market good ideas would rise to the top. Well, that didn't work. Just go look at Sears stock. Go look at it. See for yourself. Don't believe me. Here we go. One last thing from Rachel Maddow's blog. Polls show that Fox News continues this Benghazi conspiracy theory nonsense. They continue talking about climate change as though it were not true. What else do they talk about? They continue to talk about United Nations conspiracy theories. That's pretty crazy. Anyway, the point being, Fox News polls show that they're sliding in ratings, especially with the demographics like 25 through 54 or whatever. Their target core, this is the future of their audience, the people that they need to be talking to, because the average Fox News viewer now is like 67 years old. Their audience is literally dying off of old age. So Fox News viewership is in a decline, and it keeps declining, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Fox News is just corporate propaganda. I mean, it's just shills trying to push you a corporate message. Why do you think they don't accept climate change on Fox News? It's because that does not fit the narrative the oil companies have told them to say. That does not fit the Coke industry's narrative that is being pushed in America. It's preposterous to think that the American people is so stupid that they would not eventually figure out that they were being lied to day in and day out. And that's exactly what is happening. Things are getting better. And you need to know that, listener. Things are getting better. Despite the fact that we turn on the TV every day and we hear these horrible stories about people dying, police brutality, despite the fact that we keep hearing our politicians saying the dumbest, most stupid things, like Marco Rubio sticking his foot in his mouth, despite all of this, despite corporate media pushing forward in ever expanding in its reach and in its depth of message, despite all of that, at the end of the day, human beings are still kind of smart. They are. They figure things out over time. And the American public is starting to wake up and realize that their news media is not all that it's supposed to be, that it's not as straightforward as it's supposed to be. Look at CNN concentrating on the Malaysian airplane when there was actual news going on. I mean, it is news that we lost an airplane. It is news that it crashed in the ocean somewhere. We need to find it. And we need to figure out what happened so that we can prevent another air disaster like that from happening again. This is how it works. But to constantly just talk about, do we find it today? Do we find it today? Do we find it today? Just to constantly roll with that as your lead off when there are actual news stories going on. When Congress is actually in session, meeting and talking over legislature. When they're talking about the laws that are going to govern our country, to constantly talk about an airplane on the other side of the planet, that's not news. That is entertainment. That is corporate headline attention grabbing. That is them trying to sell newspapers. My older listeners will know what that means. That is them trying to sell Kindle subscriptions. That is them trying to get viewers, to trying to take a tragedy and then to use that tragedy for ratings. And that is awful. That is terrible. Is that what you want our news media to do, Americans? Is that what you want to hear? Do you feel informed when they do stuff like that? I sure don't. I don't feel informed when my news media is just trying to entertain me so that I will click their link, or I will turn on their TV channel, or I will listen to their broadcast. That does not educate me. That does not inform me. That does not help society get better. But I'm glad to see that the American people are now waking up and realizing. They're realizing what's going on, and Fox News viewership, #1, is declining, and it's declining really fast.
Right now we interact with computers in a very unnatural sort of 2D way. And we're trying to create these 3D objects using a variety of 2D tools. And it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel normal the way you should do things. So we started playing around with the idea and using a few of the things that are available out there, such as the Leap Motion and Siemens NX, which is what we used to design the rocket. And we wrote some code to kind of integrate the two. And we started off with what you see here, which is a wireframe of the Merlin rocket engine. And what I can do is I can go and grab it, and I can rotate it in multiple dimensions. And then what I can do is I can put another hand in there, and I can zoom, or I can zoom in and out on the wireframe. And then I can also translate it. So I can move it around the screen, and then zoom and translate. And this is what we started off with a few months ago. And then you can also spin it, and then catch it. So this is kind of a fun way to interface with what is really a very complex model. Now we'll go from this to what we're able to advance to a few weeks after the wireframe, which is to actually use a full 3D CAD model of the engine. So here what you're seeing is the actual interaction with the CAD software manipulating the real 3D model of the Merlin engine just using hand gestures. If you can just go in there and do what you need to do, just understanding the fundamentals of how the thing should work, as opposed to figure out how to make the computer make it work, then you can achieve a lot more in a lot shorter period of time. So then we went to a 3D projection. We started off with the kind of 3D projection that you're familiar with in the movies, where you use 3D glasses. We also did a freestanding glass projection, which is what the sort of technology that was used in the Iron Man movies. And then finally we used the Oculus Rift, which is immersive virtual reality that actually tracks your head position, and you really are moving around the object. It feels like it's right there in front of you. Now let's use this for an actual component on the rocket, which is a cryogenic valve housing. You can really apply your intuition and take something from your mind to a physical object with far greater ease than we currently do. Now that we've gotten the object out of our head and into the computer, how do we get it out of the computer and into reality? So we're actually going to print this with a 3D laser metal printer. So the way that the 3D printer works is it lays down fine particles of either titanium or Inconel, and then it goes over it with a laser and melts those tiny particles onto the prior layer. So it builds it up like just layer by layer. So I believe we're on the verge of a major breakthrough in design and manufacturing, in being able to take the concept of something from your mind, translate that into a 3D object really intuitively on the computer, and then take that virtual 3D object and be able to make it real just by printing it. So it's going to revolutionize design and manufacturing in the 21st century.
This is as real as it gets, folks. Everything is about to change. The way that we design, the way that we create, the way that we come together, the way we interface with our computers is about to change over the next 2 years. And that's why I started the People's Radio. If you go back and you listen to the early episodes, I started off all excited and we're going to live forever! It's true. It's true. I can't say it enough. Scientists and engineers are about to surge forward in their work productivity at a rate which we cannot possibly yet comprehend. This is from Vice.com. Lockheed Martin will be using 3D printing and virtual reality in order to compete with SpaceX. Lockheed Martin is the Pentagon's biggest supplier for everything from missiles to satellites, but the military tightens its belt, and it is forcing the United States Air Force to consider competitors, namely SpaceX, which is now threatening Lockheed Martin's market dominance. To stay relevant and keep its lucrative government contracts, the aerospace defense company is embracing 3D printing and virtual reality. In the next decade, we will completely change the way a satellite is designed and built. We will print a satellite, Mark Valerio, Lockheed's vice president of military space, told Reuters, quote, "This is real." That's right. It is real. I can't say it enough. This is the future. Organizing for humanity. This is the reason why we're working on Project Holodesk as hard as we can. The idea that we can just bring people together in a virtual world and they can work together on a problem. I mean, how about this? To my listeners out there, you probably already know what Minecraft is. Go check out some Minecraft worlds from time to time. And go see what people are doing. People are working together to construct things, to build things. And they're coming up with the most amazing structures and designs in very little time. I mean, now, little time is subjective. They themselves are putting in a lot of man hours to build these things, hundreds and hundreds of man hours to build these things. But the point being that, relatively speaking, for the rest of us, very small amount of time is going by while these players, these workers, are building these fantastic structures. They have built inside Minecraft a full-size replica of the USS Enterprise. Now I know that it's more of a novelty than an actual functioning starship. But the point remains, when we combine our design and manufacturing capabilities with the Oculus Rift and then with Project Holodesk, the ability to have thousands and thousands of people all working on one problem at the same time, our work productivity is going to go through the roof. One of the things that's holding back Holodesk currently is the structure of command is going to be really difficult to do. When you have 1,000 people working on a problem and you're all, I've got an idea, I've got an idea, I've got an idea, I've got an idea, and you're all talking at the same time, there needs to be a chain of command that we're going to establish. There needs to be a way for communications to go through proper channels so that they are, But that's going to be the next breakthrough in science. The next breakthrough is, instead of actually talking and verbally talking, we're going to learn to project our thoughts. And believe it or not, Valve, the video game software company, says that they're working on a device that will do just that. So if they make a breakthrough and they announce it, you will hear about it here first on the People's Radio. From Gizmodo, IBM Lab accidentally makes new type of super strong recyclable polymer. Now, let me just say that in science, the major discoveries, the ones that really rocket us forward, are not the ones that we went out and we tried to, we're going to go build this, and then it happens. That's not how science works. Science is an almost mechanical, blind, stabbing in the dark process of discovery. Science is walking into a dark room and turning on a flashlight and then looking around to see what's there. It's the things that you did not expect to be there that are always the most mind-blowing. Anyway, back to the Gizmodo article. Strong, durable materials are hard to recycle. They're designed to stand up to abuse, but research chemists at IBM Laboratory just published their discovery of a never-before-seen family of polymers that is super strong, self-healing, lightweight, and easy to recycle. And it was discovered completely by accident. Dr. Jeanette Garcia was mixing up a standard recipe for plastic polymer at IBM Lab when she inadvertently left out an ingredient. When she returned to the beaker later, the liquid mix had turned into a white plastic so strong it could not be removed even with a grinder. Dr. Garcia had to smash the beaker with a hammer in order to get the polymer out. IBM says Dr. Garcia's plastic is the first distinctly new type of polymer created in decades. Most of the new polymers created in recent years are simply variations. The new family is codenamed Titan. It's a type of thermoset polymer formed under heat to create a 3D network of bonds that is rigid as bone. Unlike other types of thermoset polymers, however, IBM's accidental discovery is utterly recyclable, a huge and unexpected benefit in a class of materials built to be ultra tough. Thermosets are designed to be exceptionally stable in terms of temperature and mechanical properties. They are not designed to be reversible. There you have it, folks. That's going to be used in 3D printers. That material will soon be coming to a 3D printer near you. And there will be a 3D printer near you. Did you know that you can pick up a 3D printer now for $500? It's true. It's true. 3D printers have gotten affordable. They have gotten common. Most businesses are buying them now. This is the future of design and manufacturing. This is the future that Organizing for Humanity hopes to grab a hold of and ride. This is the future that we're all going to enjoy together. Soon? Very soon. Very, very soon. You'll be able to put on your Oculus Rift, design a part or a model or a decoration, whatever you want. Right there with your hands in your room, just you mold it, you shape it, you make it, you create it. It comes from your mind into the virtual space, and then you just boop, click print. And the file will go to your 3D printer that's sitting over there on your desk next to your fax machine, which is, gathering dust at this point. And it will print, it will create that creation of yours instantly right there in your home. This is the future. This is the future of design and manufacturing. It cannot be said enough. Now, I know if you work in like a manufacturing plant, if you work in industry, there might be this chill starting to come up your spine. Oh, what's going to happen to my job? Folks, we're going to lose a lot of jobs. A lot of jobs are going to be lost to automation, robots, and just 3D printing. I mean, NASA now has a spider robot that 3D prints things. And they're designing it to 3D print structures in space, and it can work in conjunction with thousands of other spider robots in order to work faster. This is real. I cannot say it enough. This is real, and our world is about to change. We better get ready for a resource-based economy. We better get ready for a voluntary workforce.
Around the world, we keep building structures that are taller and bigger than the existing ones. Here are 5 current mega construction projects. Number 5 is the Kingdom Tower in Saudi Arabia. Upon its expected completion in 2017, it will have an approximate height of 3,280 feet, making it the tallest building in the world. With a budget of nearly $1.2 billion, the tower will have more than 160 floors, including apartments, office space, and condos. Number 4. The Falcon City of Wonders in Dubai. With an area of 400,000 square feet, this mega construction project would host the replicas of 7 wonders of the world, such as Taj Mahal, Eiffel Tower, and the Great Wall. In addition, it will feature a theme park, educational institute, sports facilities, and approximately 5,500 residential units. The project is expected to complete between 2015 and 2017. Number 3 is the Shanghai Tower in Shanghai, China. Upon its completion in 2014, this 2,074-foot structure would be the second tallest building in the world. The 121-story tower will have plenty of dining, entertainment, and office space options. The mega construction project has a budget of $1.9 billion. Number 2 is the Crystal Island in Moscow, Russia. With an approximate height of 1,500 feet, this tent-like structure will comprise of apartment buildings, hotel, office, shopping, exhibition, and performance space. Number 1 is One World Trade Center, which is part of the new World Trade Center complex in New York City. Upon its completion in 2015, the 1,776 feet tall building would not only be the tallest building in New York City, but also in the US. Which one of these is your favorite?
I hope you're starting to see that we are building a new world. Things are coming together. And the problem is, as we accelerate our production and manufacturing, as we accelerate our creations, climate change is also going to accelerate along with us. You see, when you create things, you exert energy, and then that energy is expelled. That energy is exhausts resources and so forth. It's like when you make a light bulb, when you make a light bulb, you have to use energy to make that light bulb. Somewhere, somebody had to burn some fossil fuels to make that light bulb. So our number one primary focus as a species should be on creating a new renewable society. A society that is, I don't want to say in harmony with nature, because we are nature, but we need to build a society that is responsible to nature. We've got to stop our absolute reckless usage of fossil fuel energy. The ability to create a 100% renewable energy grid worldwide does exist, and the manufacturing capabilities to make it so will be coming online over the next 5 to 6 years. That's one of the reasons why I opened up my show at one point talking about the Tesla Gigafactory. The Tesla Gigafactory will produce batteries that will enable commercial energy storage on the power grid. This will enable us to power everything by solar if we want, power everything by wind if we want, because when the sun's not shining and when the wind dies down, we can just pull from our battery banks. This is going to become a reality. And then after it does, you guys can call me a prophet, a futurist, whatever you want to call me. I just see it coming, and I report to you, the listener. And what's China up to this week? What are they doing? Magnetic levitation train could reach speeds of 1,800 miles per hour. Holy crap! Maglev, or magnetic levitation trains, have attracted a lot of interest over the years because of their high-speed capabilities. Maglev got off to a very slow start. The first passenger maglev opened in 1984, and it was a shuttle in Birmingham International Airport, which only traveled at speeds of 26 miles per hour. Since then, the technology has come on leaps and bounds, and the fastest passenger train in the world currently is a maglev train in Shanghai, which can reach speeds of 268 miles per hour. That's right, China has a 268 mile per hour train, and we don't. Just remember that. Our politicians is why we cannot have nice things. And I want to close out the program today talking about what we can do about those politicians. But continuing, a team of researchers at Southwest Jiaotong University have built a prototype testing platform to try a new model called Super Maglev. Why not? I mean, that's a creative name. Which could, in theory, reach speeds of 1,800 miles per hour. The high speeds of this train are achieved using a vacuum tube to reduce the air resistance that restricts the speed of other maglev trains. The team reduced the air pressure in the testing tube to 10 times less than atmospheric pressure at sea level, which reduced drag substantially and therefore allowed higher speeds. You know, Elon Musk has the Hyperloop here in America to compete with that, but even the Hyperloop only does 800 miles an hour. That's incredible that China is even considering building such a thing. To even consider creating a train that'll go 1,800 miles per hour shows the scope of China's ambition and their forward thinking. Oh yes, I understand China's society has a lot of problems. China's government has a lot of corruption. But they are doing some fantastic things when it comes to pushing the boundaries of engineering and science and technology. And they should be applauded for that. We should be doing that also. We're not going to be able to get to all this. And I also predicted that in an earlier episode of the People's Radio. I said as we get into it, as we start to approach the singularity in 2033, that technology itself and our advances would advance so fast that I wouldn't be able to keep up with it on just a 1-hour show. And that's already starting to become a reality. But I'm going to try to speed up a little bit here. An animal, this is from Business Insider. An animal will be perfectly recreated in a computer for the first time ever. The first animal to have its genome mapped is about to be the first to be completely recreated in a digital world, thanks to a Kickstarter project called OpenWorm, which will digitally construct the roundworm C. elegans. Biology has already assembled a thorough picture of this microscopic worm since it's made up of only 1,000 cells. Not only has its genome been sequenced, science have mapped its complete development. OpenWorm's co-founders hope that by creating the most studied organism in all of biology in a digital space, they can help eliminate diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, which have proto-equivalents whose origins can be studied using the tiny worm. It's interesting stuff, and I look forward to those developments. We're gonna create a virtual worm. You know, that raises up the old question: are we just in a computer simulation? Are we just a computer simulation? Are you and I just a sim in SimCity 12,000? That's a possibility that we all have to consider. University scientists, and I can't get to all of these, but after this one, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do about those pesky politicians. Newcastle University scientists discover how to restore ability to grasp in a paralyzed hand. This is from the Journal. Pioneering research by scientists at Northeast University could help people who have been paralyzed to regain use of their hands. The researchers at Newcastle University have been able to restore the ability to grab objects with a paralyzed hand using spinal cord stimulation. The work, which has been funded by the Wellcome Trust, could help stroke and spinal injury victims, as the research has shown that by connecting their brain to a computer and then the computer to the spinal cord, it is possible to restore movement. How cool is that? We think about moving our hand, but it doesn't make it there because the spinal cord is broken or severed. So the communication link is not there. So what we're just doing is taking a computer, intercepting that thought, and then broadcasting it on the other side of the broken link so that message actually gets there. This is amazing research. This is amazing science. It's amazing. Now, let me tell you what Organizing for Humanity is going to do to try to enable, or I should say, to try to facilitate a transition to a resource-based economy. If you go to organizingforhumanity.com, you'll see some of the projects that we're working on. One of the projects that does not have a name yet is a political action project. And this is basically the way that it's going to work. Humans need to channel that, what I call slacktivism, that online activism, into real-world activism. If you browse Facebook, if you browse social media, if you browse Twitter, you will notice that people do care. There are millions upon millions of people out there every single day that care. They care about things. They care about things that are going on in the world. They care about politics, they care about science, they care about math, they care about engineering, they care about their particular football team, they care about laws in their area, they care that police brutality is on the rise, they care that other countries are getting super cool maglev trains that we're not getting. They care about all of these things. They share on Facebook these memes talking about, oh, if only we had this, and oh, politicians and this is what's wrong, and I'm guilty of doing this as well. Now, if we at Organizing for Humanity can figure out how to convert just 1% or so, 2% or so, just a small percentage of that online slacktivism into actual real-world activism, then the politicians would be so overwhelmed with concerned citizens giving them messages of this is what I'm concerned about, day in and day out, that they would be forced to react, act upon, react for sure. Our politicians need to know that we care. They need to know what we want from them. They need to know what their voters demand they do. And the thought has occurred to me that when we are sharing memes and pictures and images and such and our concerns amongst each other, which we should do this, and we should continue doing this, because the internet is enabling information to transfer at higher speeds. And news gets around the world, within minutes now, thanks to the power of, Twitter and social media. We should still continue trading information amongst ourselves. We should still continue pushing facts and logic to our fellow man, but if we could find a way to channel some of that and actually push it towards the politicians, to make sure the politicians actually see these messages. And, at this stage, it's just kind of a vague concept, but this is kind of where we're headed. Imagine a website, if you will, that facilitates an easy way for you, the citizen at home, to get in touch with your representative. If you're listening to me right now, do you know who your representative is? Do you know who your House rep is? Do you know who your senator is? Do you know how to contact them? Do you know their number? Do you know their email? Do you know how to write a letter to them? Do you know how to pick up the phone and call them and voice your concern? Do you know how to meet up with them at a town hall meeting? Do you know how to get in touch with your local government, your city government? Do you know how to tell your city council what your concerns are and what you would like your city to do? Do you know any of these things? Be honest now. Be honest. Because a lot of us care. We care a lot. But we don't really know what to do. We don't really know how to take that caring, that passion, and then project it to City Hall, project it to federal government, project it to state government, and let our politicians know that we are upset and that we demand something from them. And protesting, as can be seen with the recent protesters that were arrested outside of McDonald's, protesting is becoming ignored. I think the 99% Occupy thing was good, because protesting can work if it's enough people, if there's enough people to basically clog up the works, gum up the works. If it's enough people to get noticed, then yeah, politicians normally respond instantly. But we don't have to meet in the streets anymore and go rabble, rabble, rabble. We can meet now in the virtual space and go rabble, 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 which is what we're doing more and more every day. So Organizing for Humanity is going to work on a website that will help people in a very clear and concise way know instantly the issues at hand, the issues, the what the science says about each issue, and then so they can automatically just kind of look and see who their representative is, who their politician is, how to get in contact with them, and then maybe we will even help facilitate letters. Perhaps we'll provide some letters that are pre-written a little bit so that you can then modify them to have your own thoughts and concerns added to them. And I know that there are campaigns. I know that there are campaigns like this. There are websites like this out there. But we can do better. We can do better together, as a collective, as a group. We can make sure that people contact their representatives on a daily basis. A daily basis. Once again, thank you for listening to The People's Radio.